Right, we still have with us our special guest with us now on this segment of the broadcast is Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, retired former Director General of the Infantry of the Indian Army. General Kulkarni, and also joining us, by the way, from the US is Professor W.P.S. Sidhu. Professor Sidhu, welcome to you as well for joining us on this special broadcast. Good to have you join this discussion. If I can come to you, General Kulkarni, we're discussing about the ideological and political domestic compulsions of General Asim Munir to respond, to at least be seen to be responding to these strikes. But it's a catch-22 situation, as we were mentioning before. He's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. So does that put pressure on him and his continuance as the head of the Pakistani army?
Asif Munir, son of a Maulana, born subsequently later, of course, in Pakistan, but otherwise the family belongs to Jalandhar. It's so unfortunate that all three who have been totally anti-India and to hate India have connections with India deep-rooted. Ziaul Haq, Jalandhar, Parvez Musharraf, Chandni Chowk, and here another man whose family is from Jalandhar. Imagine, they ought to be ensuring as Muhajir to have better relations with India. Instead, they seem to have deep hatred and either wanting to prove holier than thou when they are in Pakistan, resulting in the kind of jihadi mindset that Asif Munir has had. Unfortunately for him, that his rise itself has been when Imran Khan didn't want him. But somehow, since Imran Khan didn't want him, he has ensured that Imran Khan stays behind bars. And as a result of which, he was removed as DG-ISR. While he was the DG-ISR, he is the one who had Operation Pulwama being done, resulting in Balakot strike subsequently. And now when he becomes the chief of the army staff, from day one, even those kind of utterances of two-nation theory, utterances that they are superior, that they are different, is indicative. And then those utterances immediately leading to what happened at Pahalgam is indicative that his mind all along has been to divide India on lines, which thankfully this particular incident of Pahalgam united India. Entire India stood united to take revenge and to be able to tell Pakistan enough is enough. We cannot tolerate terrorism. And terrorism which Pakistan uses as an instrument of state policy. So this is what has been conveyed. But Munir is what Munir is. Either he wants to get into power, resulting in what it is, or maybe he's wanting an extension as the chief of army staff. But in any case, all along since 47, either the Pak army has been ruling Pakistan or by remote control, they've been ruling Pakistan. No other army in the world has a country to itself other than the Pakistan army. A Pakistan army in itself has its own $30 billion business that it does. At this point of time, when he was in the backward Balochistan, where hundreds of the security forces were dying, there were so many of the deaths taking place in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, with Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan hitting the security forces. In Balochistan, the Balochistan Liberation Army, you saw how the Zafar Express was hijacked and how many of the people were killed. So probably to distract from that, he thought he would open up another front. So this particular incident that has happened at Pahalgam has been planned, managed and executed on his behalf. And therefore, it was very essential to hit the terrorist hideout locations in Pakistan. And what the Prime Minister all along had been saying that we will hit at all the terrorists wherever they may be. In Pakistan, if they are in India or anywhere in the world, the terrorists will be hit. Our war is against terrorism. And therefore, the certain non-kinetic measures had already started in terms of the Indus Water Treaty, in terms of their persona non grata, the military attaches that were there, the Atari border being closed, all import-export being stopped, all trade stopped, no medicines going, visas were cancelled. So all those measures were taken place. The entire nation was awaiting for a kinetic threat because that is what they wanted, not for any other reason. Not because of emotional reason, because until and unless you hit at the source of terror in Pakistan, they will continue to do so. They didn't learn a lesson after Uri. They didn't learn a lesson after Pulwama, and they continue to do that. And I think at this point of time, our Prime Minister has taken the right step in hitting at the terrorist location in Pakistan and PoK. Pakistan, when I say, because Bhavalpur is in Pakistan, that's where the terrorist hideout and the terror factory of Jaish-e-Mohammed, that is of Masood Azhar in Bhavalpur. So that has been hit very hard. And all of it, it is not that we are saying that we've hit. The tweet by their Prime Minister, tweet by their DGISPR that India has struck, India has hit some of these places in Pakistan, and that they will now take revenge or retaliate. That is their responsibility. And also the escalatory ladder along the LOC has gone up, because so far all the violations were by the small arm. Now I understand Pakistan is firing artillery. Obviously, they'll be retaliated, and the Indian side will also retaliate as hard and even harder than what the Pakistan can take it. We must, at this point of time, definitely not listen to the propaganda that originates from Pakistan, that they've done this, they've done, because they'll continue to do so. We've seen it in 65, we've seen it in 71, we've seen it in Kargil, that they would not even own up their own death of their own soldiers. We had to bury them in Kargil. So this is the state of Pakistan. And in this context, I see Munir either wanting to take direct control of Pakistan or quite happy with the remote control, because he's placed his DGISI as the NSA. If that be so, I think he needs definitely,
Indeed,
it is all up to him. If he wishes to raise the escalation, wants to strike India, well, India will strike harder. And he wouldn't know what has hit it.
Indeed. General Kulkarni, in the meantime, we're getting some more updates on Operation Sindoor. This is news just coming in. The places where terrorist hideouts were attacked included, as you were mentioning a short while ago, Bahawalpur, Muridke, Tehra Kalan, Sialkot, Barnala, 2 places in Kotli, 2 places in Muzaffarabad. The terrorist hideouts of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, the Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Hizbul Mujahideen were also targeted. This is news just coming in. You're watching the rolling coverage here on DD India of Operation Sindoor, your one-stop destination for authentic and authoritative information on Operation Sindoor, India's response to the 22nd April Pahalgam terror attack. Right, while we are on this breaking news, let me also get in our other guest, Professor Sidhu, who is joining us from New York City. Professor Sidhu, welcome, and thank you for joining us on this special broadcast. Your thoughts on Operation Sindoor, the message behind it, and the import for Pakistan in the hours and days ahead.
Well, clearly, thank you very much, Ramesh, for having me here as well. And clearly, this is part of what has become standard operating procedure now for many similar responses in different parts of the world. We've seen the United States do a similar response, Israel carry out similar responses as well. And so it's not surprising that India is also following a similar pattern too. But there are, of course, key differences. And one of the key differences is that in most of these other countries and examples, you do not have a nuclear-armed adversary, number one. And number two, a fairly, effective or competent military, you might argue. As you've already heard, that there is quite a bit of capability there. And so while India may have certainly initiated this, response, it is not likely to end here. And clearly, Pakistan will also have a response both here, but in other forums as well. So I think there is clearly a possibility of escalation on both sides. And this is very evident both from the targeting, which India has carried out, which has not just been in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir or Azad Jammu and Kashmir, but also in Punjab. It also seems very evident that it has not just been a single service operation, as was the case in the previous instance, but a tri-service reaction as well. And so I think that there is an element of escalation that we also need to be aware of as well. And clearly this was evident even on the side of the Indian government, which has announced things like blackouts and some of the drills that many Indians may not remember from since the time of 1971.
Professor Sidhu, as someone who looks at India from the outside, in your case, the US, we've heard in the last several hours since Operation Sindoor was executed from the likes of President Trump himself, from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. In fact, Rubio has spoken with India's NSA Ajit Doval as well. We've heard and read their statements as well. Do you think that today, as we speak, there's a greater appreciation in Washington, D.C. of the fact that India's patience is not inexhaustible, that India will retaliate to such provocations going forward and impose costs on Pakistan as well, and actually call Pakistan's bluff on the issue of terrorism?
I think there was always that kind of tacit support even before this particular administration. A key distinction was what was the level of the response. And we've seen that there are obviously different ways that countries can respond. One example of that is, more covert, as we saw the Israelis respond in the wake of Munich, for example, 1972. But this is a more overt kind of response which we have seen. And obviously, there are many, many audiences and many messages that such a response is likely to present as well. But let's also be clear that, as in the case of the United States, and one might argue even Israel, these strikes alone are not necessarily going to end cross-border terrorism. There will have to be, some other kind of additional impact and impositions as well, and some of those may actually be non-kinetic as well. But clearly, the U.S. support, is notwithstanding, because India still has to face the situation on the ground with a nuclear-armed neighbor. And one of the challenges is going to be, how do you maintain this at a conventional level and not have the escalation built in that we've already started to hear is happening?
Indeed. Professor Sidhu and General Kulkarni, do stay on. I'll come back to you momentarily. In the meantime, let me pull up some more news for our viewers.